was about 12 years old when, and people know this story about me because I tell it a lot, about how I brought a lot of stuff back from Europe and sold it to my classmates. And without getting into details, because it's like, it's an old story, but I realized that I could turn anything into a business and make money from it. And then like when I was the next year, when I was 13, I was now a freshman in high school. I did something that nobody else did before. I brought back music from Europe once again. My family's from Spain, so I was kind of traveling a lot over there. I bring back the music over here, which ironically wasn't here for years. I always thought to myself, man, I could start businesses. I can start things. And in college, I did that. I started my first business in college. It was a music entertainment business. And I became like a pretty well-known DJ, and I was hosting events and putting out records. And I was like, making money doing that. And it opened kind of the doors to like, oh, I can actually start a successful business if I really work hard and put myself out there. The moral of the story in terms of entrepreneurship that people should take home today is you have to get rid of the fear you have and the uncertainty of building a business and the what ifs and like, oh, I could do this, but it's a lot of work. And what if it fails? And I don't know what I'm doing, and I don't want to waste time and money. And like, you got to get rid of all that stuff, and you got to just focus on the things you can control and work your way towards a successful business.
Today's guest was mining crypto before most people could even spell the word Bitcoin. And at one point, he held over 60 BTC when it was trading under $200. But that's just the beginning. He's a serial entrepreneur. He's an award-winning filmmaker, a technologist, and the founder of one of the most advanced AI platforms on the market. He's been building and selling businesses since he was 12 years old, starting with mixtapes and bracelets brought back from Europe, and then moving into DJing, app development, software as a service platforms, and now even AI for universities and government agencies. Now, this podcast episode is all about entrepreneurship. But if you're a trader, because most of my podcasts are about traders and trading, this is still 100% for you. Because let's face it, traders are entrepreneurs. You manage risk, you build repeatable systems, you deal with uncertainty, and you look for opportunity every single day. This is my conversation with Jason Sherman. You are a technologist, and now I kind of see, just from looking at your collection, a little bit where you get it from. But you're a technologist, you're a serial entrepreneur for sure. And I think we have so much in common, which is why I'm so looking forward to this conversation. So you write a lot about, and you teach, and you even have a very successful podcast about entrepreneurship. So tell me how you got involved with entrepreneurship and why that's so important to you.
I think it's because when I was young, probably the same age as the stuff behind me, I was about 12 years old when, and people know this story about me because I tell it a lot, about how I brought a lot of stuff back from Europe and sold it to my classmates. And without getting into details, because it's like, it's an old story, but I realized that I could turn anything into a business and make money from it. So I'm like, well, let me see what else I could do. So that was the bug, right? That was the day that the bug, kind of went into my ear and said, okay, keep doing this.
12 years old.
12 years old.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because I know for me at that age, my bicycle got stolen, and I went to my dad and I said, I need a new bicycle. And he's like, well, if you pay for half of it, I'll contribute the other half.
Okay.
And then I got a paper route.
You had to make some money.
So I need to make some money. And then once I had a couple bucks in my pocket, it was all I could think about. So you brought things back from Europe?
Yeah, just like things that people, like the kids would want to buy, bracelets, And then like when I was the next year, when I was 13, I was now a freshman in high school. I did something that nobody else did before. I brought back music from Europe once again. My family's from Spain, so I was kind of traveling a lot over there. I bring back the music over here, which ironically wasn't here for years, right? So think of like, Ace of Base and like Two Unlimited and like that era, right? That music was playing in the radio in Europe, but it wasn't here yet.
Interesting.
So I'd bring the tapes back and make these little mixtapes with like fancy graphics on them and sell them to people. and they would buy them.
Right.
And I would just keep selling. I would just keep selling tapes. So then I became a DJ and
That's a
started
tedious
selling.
process to copy one
Yep.
tape at a time.
Cassette tape.
With the did you have the dual cassette?
The dual cassette, and I
Yeah.
had to kind of mix, but like I was always trying to figure out a way to like use what I had available to me to make money somehow, or make a business somehow, um, rather than just getting a job, which of course everybody, like, like everybody else, I had a job. And I realized I didn't like the jobs that I had as a teenager, but I had, like you said, I had to get a car. I was 16, I wanted to buy a car. So, but I always thought to myself, man, I could start businesses. I can start things. And in college, I did that. I started my first business in college. It was a music entertainment business. And I became like a pretty well-known DJ, and I was hosting events and putting out records. And I was like, making money doing that. And it opened kind of the doors to like, oh, I can actually start a successful business if I really work hard and put myself out there. And I think the moral of the story in terms of entrepreneurship that people should take home today is you have to get rid of the fear you have and the uncertainty of building a business and the what ifs and like, oh, I could do this, but it's a lot of work. And what if it fails? And I don't know what I'm doing, and I don't want to waste time and money. And like, you got to get rid of all that stuff, and you got to just focus on the things you can control and work your way towards a successful business.
Absolutely. The failure isn't the business failing. The failure is you not trying. That's the real failure, because no matter what, you're going to learn something.
And learning from it.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Many major entrepreneurs have said that they had so many failed businesses before they finally figured it out. So speaking of that, like, did you have a major mentor when it comes to entrepreneurship, or people who you really look up to?
It's a good question. And, I would like to think that I did have some, but the truth is I had to really learn everything on my own.
Wow.
And this is like, before the internet was huge, I had to really kind of figure it out. And that means I made a lot of mistakes in my career. But as you make, and I think it's almost better that way because, excuse me, as you make these mistakes, you realize, oh, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to do it the way that I figured it out. And if you keep doing that over and over again, eventually it works, right? And now you have these methodologies and strategies. But I did have maybe one or two people, maybe one, two, three people that I just happened to know that I worked with in some capacity.
Okay.
And they would see like how I was working or how I was doing things or how my website looked or how I was running a company or how, and there was a couple little things they said to me that really changed things for me. The first was, and I'll never forget this, is a friend of mine came to, at the time I had a brick and mortar store that I opened by myself, and I ended up selling that. And he said to me, "Hey man, you're doing too much work on your own. You need to learn how to delegate tasks to other people so that you can focus on growing your business and scaling." And I argued with him almost. I was like, well, I can't, because like every time I try to get someone to help me, they mess it up.
They're never going to do it as good as you.
Yeah, they're never. That's exactly what he said.
I know the feeling.
He said that to me. He said, they're never going to do it as good as you. So you got to get that out of your head. Let them do it their way. Maybe they'll surprise you and do things better. And you know what? He was right, because I did start hiring people to do things, and some of them did things in a way that I didn't expect or I wouldn't have thought of, that ended up being a better method. The other thing that happened to me, and this was probably the bigger one, I think, in my opinion, because the delegation one is pretty obvious, but the other one was at a certain point in time when I was just really getting my gears moving for the entrepreneurship. I was kind of trying to figure out how to make my name out there. I had all my businesses and all my ideas and concepts and projects listed on my website, logos and all. Like, it was just like a smorgasbord of ideas. And this really smart guy, I was doing videography for his tech meetups in Philly. And he said to me, he's like, let me help you, since you've been helping me. Let me come to your office and kind of just give you some help. He comes to my office and he tells me, look, you're obviously a really smart guy. You have lots of ideas. You're able to do all this stuff, but I don't know who you are. I know what your ideas are, but who's Jason? What's your brand? You should redo your website to showcase you, to showcase what you're good at, to showcase your brand. And the website that you see now, jasonsherman.org, that's, years of me incorporating that process and that idea, that thought, that concept of giving myself the showcase, not my ideas. My ideas are on there and you can see what they are, but my brand is me. I'm the one that provides all of the knowledge and information.
Well, you certainly have
that
an
was a game
unbelievable
changer.
number of interests. I mean, even just looking at your LinkedIn page, you have an incredible array of interests. So, and then obviously just looking behind you, clearly you have a lot of different interests. A lot of what I talk about on my podcast and on my videos is trading related. And so you had explained to me that you were involved with crypto very early, and you do interview people who are involved with trading on your podcast. So tell me a little bit about your history with trading, crypto. I mean, they might be two separate topics or they might be the same topic for you.
Yeah, they are separate because originally when I got into it, I feel like I got in late. What people say I got in early. Bitcoin came out in 2008 after the crisis, the mortgages collapsing and all that stuff. And Satoshi Nakamoto said, "Hey, let's change the game with the financial system. So let's make this Bitcoin." And I didn't hear about it until 2013. People say, "Well, that's still very early. It's only
Very
a couple
early.
of years." Well, yeah, but to me, I'm like, well, why didn't I hear about it in 2010 or 2009? I didn't hear about it. I didn't research it, but I did hear about it. Luckily, and I got lucky. It's a really strange story, but my first official tech startup was probably one of my more successful ones, believe it or not. Even though it's not in existence today, but that startup, I hired a high school student to help me develop the MVP prototype of the app. Crazy. This kid was smart. He then, for some reason, told me he was mining Quark coins through virtual servers for free online. And I'm like, oh, what is this? What are you talking about? He's like, you should do it. It's free. So I looked into it, and Quark coin doesn't exist today. It was just like some random coin. But I was mining them on this VPS, this virtual server that Microsoft was giving out for free. You can make different email accounts and make servers. So I was learning about this mining thing, and I'm like, the more I dug into it, I realized you had to trade the Quark coin for Bitcoin in order to use it. Like, what the heck is Bitcoin? So I looked that up, and that's when I went down the rabbit hole and realized that was the one you wanted, because it was at the time worth, $200 a piece, whereas Quark coin was like a fraction of a penny.
Was it $200 already by 2013?
Yeah, and then when I finally ended up buying one, it was $80 that day.
Oh,
So I remember buying my first one for $80. That's the
wow.
price that I paid for my first Bitcoin. Yeah. And then I started buying them.
What was the
200.
most number you had at any one time?
It's actually not a great story, because I had over 60 and I sold them all at $600 a piece.
Right.
So, it's one of those things where you just don't know.
Yeah. I know.
You think, hey, I'm buying them for $100-$200. I'm selling them for 600. I just made a killing, amazing. I'm smart. I made some money. And then the next thing you know, it's $100,000 a piece and you're hanging yourself from the ceiling. So, and the same goes for the other, Dogecoin,
Right.
for example. I had like tens of millions of those because I was mining them, and I sold them for pennies, because you just don't know. And anyone listening or watching who's like wishing they had held on longer, or why didn't I buy more? It's like, because you don't know. You don't know what's going to happen.
The same's true with stocks as well. I mean, stocks do.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't tell you how many times I bought and sold Microsoft and Qualcomm. Qualcomm in the late 90s was like the all-time winningest stock. Like Tesla became in the last few years, and now Nvidia in the late 90s.
Exactly.
It was Qualcomm, and there's just no way to know. And you make a couple 100% on your money in a short period of time. You're a genius. So yeah.
Like Nvidia, you buy Nvidia for $1, sell it for hundreds, and it's like, but how do you know? And so what I did was I did realize in 2013 that there was something there. So rather than, and I'm a tech, like you mentioned, I'm a techie. I build computers. Like I've built all my computers since the beginning of time. And I thought, why don't I mine? There was a way to mine, like, because I was mining Quarkcoin on these VPSs, but I'm like, why don't I mine it on my computer? So you couldn't really do the computer. You had to do ASICs because it was already, the difficulty level was already too high. So I started like, I did build a rig. I have
What's
pictures of it. I built,
ASICs?
so like,
In one
okay, there's two
sentence,
different,
what's ASICs? Can you say,
it
if you
is
can explain it?
a pre-built small computer that specifically just mines one blockchain.
Okay.
So you can choose an ASIC that just mines Bitcoin, or one that mines Ethereum, or one that mines, Dogecoin.
So
But
its operating system only has one purpose, and there's only one
yeah,
thing you
it
can do
just
with it.
mines. That's all it does.
Right.
It's almost like a calculator. A calculator does one thing. You know what I mean? It's a calculator for mining. So I did end up building my own, because you can build with GPUs,
Right.
right? So
Graphics
you can
processing
build.
units.
Yep, you can build with GPUs. So I built one for GPUs, and realized you could no longer really mine Bitcoin with it because it was too powerful. So I mined Litecoin and Dogecoin mixed, because you can split them, and that's where I made a lot of Dogecoin, which unfortunately I sold. I could have made probably $50 million off of that, which is insane to even say out loud. But I probably sold it for $500. Again, you don't know. It's what we call a crap coin. It's a, I don't want to say the word, but it's a crap coin. So like it's not really worth holding.
It's
But then I
nothing.
started
It's
getting,
literally nothing. It's a dog.
it's literally nothing.
It's literally nothing.
Then I moved into like mining Ethereum, mining SC Prime, which is a decentralized cloud storage company that I'm still a part of. And I just started I like mining, like owning machines that create the coins versus buying them. But then I also bought a lot too over the time. So trading came in for me really in the third cycle, the 2017, 2018 cycle. That's when trading started to really become a thing for me. It took me that many years to understand like that you can actually trade these coins and make money off them. I did really well, and then I didn't, and that's just how it works. Like you do really well, and then it crashes, and you don't have your stop losses in there, and you just lose all the profit you made. 2021, same thing during the pandemic. Like I was doing really well, and then everyone was saying, "Oh, it's going to go to 100,000. It's going to go to 100,000." Like Elon was pumping it to 100,000. It didn't go to 100,000. A lot of us, I mean, as far as I know, everyone I know held, thinking it'll get to 100,000. It did not. It went back down to nothing, and we just had to sit and wait till this cycle. And now we all think we're ready, but this year didn't pan out the way it was supposed to. Like it's high, but that doesn't matter.
Right.
Because we missed the opportunity in the first quarter of the year where it was supposed to really skyrocket, and it just didn't. So now we're all just again waiting and waiting, and like and the same thing about waiting around for the right opportunities, and that's what I'm really doing, is waiting for the right opportunities.
So that's there's an opportunity cost, that's called. And
Yep.
we tend to, as traders, we like to look for the new flashy, shiny object. And if what we're invested in isn't flashing, we need to move on. And it's human behavior. So we do get stuck with that. Have you ever traded stocks or any other financial instruments?
I never really wanted to, because I have I have an IRA, and that's like automatic with my
Okay.
broker. But doing the stocks, I always felt like the advice I got on a regular basis was, okay, so you missed Apple. You were in college when Apple, when Apple
Right.
was a big deal. Google, eBay, Amazon. Like I could have invested my life savings in those companies in college in the 90s, and now I'd be a trillionaire. But I did not. And so I just kind of was like, well, I missed all those, so I'm not going to do it. Everyone keeps saying, just invest in the S&P 500. That's just a sure thing to just do that. So that I do that. Like I'll put some in there. But no, I don't do the actual stock trading. I just prefer crypto.
Right. Right. How did you get into computers? Like, what was your first computer?
My first computer. That's a really tough question to answer, because I actually don't know what kind of computer it was that I worked on in my private school when I was like 6 or 7 years old.
Did it have a
there was
screen, or was it?
It had a screen,
Okay.
and we were able to create colorful, pixelized artwork on it. And I remember making a happy birthday balloon for a teacher. That was the first thing I did. At home,
That was the first
my
NFT.
That was the first NFT, right? No blockchain, but yeah. My dad at home bought a Commodore 64.
That was
So
my
that's
second
the that
computer. Very familiar.
yeah, so technically it's my first computer at home, but
Hmm.
the second computer that I used, and that one I used for a long time with the tapes, and you'd put the games in and you do the word processing, and I remember always being on that computer doing stuff. Then he upgraded to the Apple II, right? The
Right.
Apple II
Which was
computer.
a
That's
superior machine than to the
the
Commodore
Apple II
64.
was, yeah, that changed a lot. That changed a lot. After that, the next computers were in high school. So just whatever they had, whether it was PCs or Macs. And then in college, I
TRS
started
80
building.
maybe.
Yeah, actually, I think it was a TRS 80, and there was definitely IBM computers in there.
Right.
And then in college, I remember what I did was, this is a funny story. In college, my hardware software teacher would not, there was computers all around the classroom on the border of the classroom, like on the walls.
Hmm.
And the goal of the class was to learn how to put together a computer. That was what the class was. That's what the curriculum said for the whole semester. Every single class, at the end of the class, I'd raise my hand and say, Mr. Lee, are we ever going to take apart a computer and put it together? It's like, yeah, we'll get to it. We'll get to it. He would just keep writing stuff on the board every class. He never did this, never took apart a computer, never put it together.
Ugh.
And then a semester, never took apart a computer, never put one together in class for the whole semester. So I was taken away. I lost that opportunity. So that summer, college was out, I'm at home. I told my dad, I'm like, listen, Dad, I never got a chance to do this. I was 18 years old. I'm like, can we go to Radio Shack and get a computer? And he's like, yeah. He's like, sure. You need one? And I'm like, well, I mean, I don't have a computer. So we went to, listen to this. This is really funny. Went to Radio Shack, bought the $3,000 computer, which was ridiculous at the time. It was such a cheap piece of crap. Brought it home, took it apart. My dad came in the room and saw it in pieces. He's like, what the hell did you do? I just paid $3,000 for this. It's like, don't worry. I'm going to put it back together again. And I did with no extra parts left over. And it booted up on the first push of the button and it
Oh,
worked
thank
perfect. And we
goodness.
just, and we returned it. We returned it. Got our money back. Went to the Valley Forge Convention Center where they do the micro center. You can
Okay.
buy the parts you want. And that's when I started getting into, because I saw an ad in the
Wow.
paper said, build your own PC. And that's where I bought all my parts for my first official computer. We paid like $1,000 for the parts, and it was like 10 times better than that crappy one at Radio Shack.
Right.
And that's when I got into technology.
It is a funny story, and I have to tell you real quick.
I've never told
Even
that
though we're
story, by the
talking
way.
about you. So I have a very similar story, except I was 10. My buddy got an Apple II, and him and his older brother had figured out how to call these electronic bulletin boards, which essentially is the predecessor of what we call a website today.
Yeah.
And so they were dialing numbers, and then they would take the receiver and put it in these suction cups, and it was communicating, and they were running their own bulletin board. It was called the Bat Cave. And I'm
Nice.
10 years old. I thought this was the coolest thing in the world. But, it was all text messages on a green letters on a black screen. But it was
Right.
a messaging. It really was the predecessor of what we know as the internet today. And so I was 10. I put this campaign onto my parents for the holidays to get me a computer. And what arrived under my tree, the Commodore VIC-20.
The VIC-20, yeah.
Yeah. And so I followed the directions, plugged it into my TV, and this thing couldn't do anything. It was really, it did nothing. And it came with a little tape drive. I couldn't even get the programs to load properly. And so the very first night I had it, I pried it open with a screwdriver to see what was wrong with it. Like I was going to figure it out somehow. And the next day, my dad came in my room and said, "What did you do?" Same, very similar story. So, and that's where my interest in computers and making them bigger, faster, more powerful, more modern, that's where it came from. It's so funny. We have
How does it work?
Stories. Yeah.
How does it work? How can I fix it? How can I upgrade? Like, I remember, what I remember too? I remember back in the day when you put a motherboard, CPU, RAM, video card, sound card, hard drive, power supply, you put it all in there, you stick it all in there, and then you have to figure out how to do all the pins, and then you have to figure out how to install the software
Right.
and how to install the drivers And you had to do all this work just to get it running. And now you just you just download Windows, or you pop Windows in, and it's up and running in like 30 minutes. You don't have to do
Yeah.
anything.
Well, no, you still need to do
Back
some drivers. There is
some stuff.
some stuff.
Sure,
Yeah.
some stuff. But back then, I mean, you had to do everything, like
Right.
every single thing.
Very complicated.
I mean, I'm even one of those guys who like upgrades the updates the BIOS. Like people don't even know what the BIOS is. I'm like, I update the BIOS, like the first thing I do.
Right. Right.
And people don't even know what that is. Like, what's the BIOS? And I'm like, it's what runs your computer.
It's the software that lives on the motherboard itself.
Yep.
Yeah. And when
Exactly.
you update it, it improves the stability, and you have to download it. And a lot of, so we service traders. We're very specific to traders. And traders, they want to trade. They know they need a powerful machine for trading, but they're not tech guys like you and I. And so
Right.
they want a very stable computer, because when you're trading, the worst thing that can happen is you have a computer error and you're in the middle of a trade, and it triggers your fight or flight response. You go crazy. And when you trigger your fight or flight response, you don't make rational decisions. And so that's where we come in. We help people make updates if needed like that. But that's updating the BIOS is a pro skill. The average
Yeah.
user is not going to update the BIOS. It's not as hard as it used to be. But
No, it's not. But they
yeah,
also don't even know what it is or where it is or what it's for or how to navigate it, how to use it. Like they don't
exactly,
know any of that stuff. Because you
exactly,
can really, I mean, if you have to like install like a GPU, for example, one of the things, or an external sound card or an audio device, the first thing you have to do is disable the onboard video card or onboard sound to not, mess
exactly.
around with the one you bought. And a lot of other things, turning on USB ports, turning them off, you know, giving your CPU overclocking, and, the fans, and, giving different settings. I mean, yeah, there's software you can put on your computer to do all that too, but the BIOS is really where you should be managing all that stuff. And,
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly. And it's tricky. So
it
if
is.
if you guys are own an easy trading computer and you're watching this, let us handle that. You have lifetime tech support. Call us in.
Smart.
We don't want you to hose up your machine, because if you do foul up that BIOS, you are not getting into your machine at all, and you could actually lose data.
That's
It could
true.
become really hard to get in there. So you are currently running a company focused on AI. Can you tell us about that? I mean, what is that your main gig these days?
Yeah, it is. It's full time. I mean, I'm in the middle of just really getting more sales these days. It's because like we've built the platform, and now we're just really doing a lot of customer support, customer feedback, adding features, and we're venturing into a new target market now because it's been presented to us.
Tell
Really,
us what it is. Tell the audience what it is.
So Vengo is AI agents for business owners to capture sales leads. That's the easiest way to say it. And the statistic that exists right now is if you are a business owner and you have a website, you are only collecting 2 to 5% of the leads of the people that come to your website. 2 to 5%. So you're missing 95% of the people that come to your website. Our number that we've established through data points is we're almost at 80% capture rate. So we're around 77%. So we make a huge difference in that 2 to 5% to the 100%. We're around 77 to 80%, meaning if you use one of our AI agents on your website, you're now going to capture 77% of the leads. And these people are warm, hot leads. These are the ones that are talking to your AI. They want your service or your product. They gave you their name, email, phone number, and you get a conversation summary that says, like, Dave wants to order a new furnace for his house, and he wants your company to come out and install it on Saturday at 2 p.m. So it's super, super, super hot. You're not paying for a lead. It's already there from your website. That's what we provide. It also works for like customer support. So like if you're on like a dog, accessory website, and you know what size they have, does it fit your dog, what breed, etc. The AI will figure that out for you and then lead you in the right direction on where to get it versus bothering you, the business owner, all day long with those same repetitive questions over and over and over again. That's the other thing we do. We avoid those repetitive questions.
Do you have statistics that can actually show what percentage of these people turn into paying customers?
Yeah, so there's about a 56% follow-up rate. that we're seeing. So out of the percentage that you get to captured lead, from there, about 56% are actually scheduling the demo, the meeting, the appointment. It's
Wow.
more than half.
That's
It's more than half.
huge.
It's very huge. And the reason why we know it's working is because our customers are sticking around.
Ah, okay.
They're not dropping off. They're staying on board. We're seeing the leads pouring in, and we're just growing. We started out with like maybe, I don't know, 10 customers, then we were at like 50. Now we're at like 300.
So
So
I know when I go to a site, I find that the AI chatbots can be kind of annoying and not really getting what I'm asking. How do you overcome that? And is it easy to connect with a live person, say during business hours? Is there like a handoff that can?
yeah, so the handoff works after the conversation is over and you receive that summary we talked about that says like Lisa wants to get new curtains and new kitchen cabinets and she wants you to come Monday to talk to her about it. That's the conversion. You're already, instead of you having to talk to her to get that information, your AI does it in a very human-like way. Chatbots are pre-programmed from a list, like a decision tree that tells
Right.
you like if
So this
then
is
that,
not
this,
this is not a decision tree.
it is not.
It's
This
smarter.
it's AI. It's an AI that talks like you, sounds like you, looks like you, and can learn
Looks like
from
me.
all the conversation it has.
I don't know if that's such a good thing.
What's that?
If it looks like me.
Well, it depends. I mean,
No,
some
I'm
people
kidding.
put the picture, some people put their picture, and others put their logo, right? So
Okay.
it depends on what you want to do.
Right.
But learning from the conversations matters because if the AI knows that this is like the most sought after product that people keep asking about, it's going to know how to answer those questions like really well. If you notice in the conversations where it might be missing something, add another document. Just
Where
add
does
another document to like.
So from an AI standpoint, I'm sure there's going to be folks watching this or listening that are learning about AI. I mean, you and I are both technologists. We're very into technology, but I can tell you the advances in AI are extremely difficult to keep up with on a day to day because
Yes.
it's increasing so fast. And, as we get older, I think, at least for me, you start to get a little blocked. Like my hard drive's starting to get full, up here.
Oh, right.
So my question to you is, where does your model live? It lives on your servers, or does it live on the customer's server somewhere? The actual model that's learning the business of your customer.
It's actually a bit of both because our servers and our infrastructure, we are using like 47 different services to keep this thing up and running. It's a lot of services, types of infrastructure and like security and like searching, vector databases, AI LLMs, et cetera. But at the end of the day, each customer has its own bucket where its repository of knowledge and chat history and all of that lives. So it's separate from the main infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, let's say, Bob's Diner, that knowledge base, those chat histories, those customers live in Bob's Diner's bucket and it doesn't touch anybody else's. And it's just theirs. And it just learns. It's like a little world, that just learns all about that.
I'm sure there's some privacy issues that must go with that and protting your customers.
That's why it's like that.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
That is so interesting. And when did you start this? And that must have been quite a task to get it up and running.
You have no idea.
Like giving birth, probably.
Yeah, it is. It is like giving birth. It's like having a child and then helping that child grow up. That's kind of exactly what I always tell people. And it came from a different platform that we built during the pandemic. It's called Spinner. It's a video friendship community platform for people to meet others based on interests and hobbies, like trading. There's a trading group on there. And we did it because people were isolated. They were at home. They were stuck. They couldn't go out. They couldn't meet new people. So we built this platform for that. But we added AI to it to help people navigate the app, ask people questions. The AI would help answer. The AI would help you figure out like, what is there to do this Friday night in Philly? It would say, oh, so your hobbies are listed on your profile. So we know you like music, yoga, coffee, and movies. Well, there's this really cool coffee and yoga event going on in the city. Here's the link. Oh, and John, Lisa, and Dave are all going as well. Here are their profiles. And it would help you do all of that, right? It'd help you just navigate everything. And I felt like that was like one of the first of its kind back in 2022. So people were really kind of harping on that. They were like, we really like this AI you built in here, but how can I make my own?
Mm.
So it's not like on the app, it's like a separate version where it's just mine. They didn't really know how to use ChatGPT or anything like that. So we built this separate product, and we called it Vengo AI because it's a Spanish word for yes, I'm coming, or coming together, like a kind of a group centric thing. And originally it was meant for that. It was meant for a creator marketplace of people to create their own AIs that they can then sell to their followers or just use with their friends and family. And it turned out that that really wasn't the use case. It was
Friends
really
and
supposed
family.
to be,
Yeah, don't call me. Call my robot.
but that's,
Who's
but that's,
a little
but
like
that's,
me, knows all my knowledge.
but you know what? When you have a TikTok, Instagram, et cetera, profiles with 1 million followers, how do you DM them all?
You can't.
You can't,
unless
but
you-
your AI
no.
can.
Okay.
Your AI can.
So, does
the
yours
thought
work?
behind it-
Does yours work on Instagram?
So okay, so the original plan, and we actually built it, it was fully functional, was an influencer with 1 million followers can create their own AI, and then all of their followers can talk to that AI, and they'd pay a certain amount per month to do that. It was directly on like the website, not on like Instagram or anything like that. When people start talking about, is it on Instagram? Is it on this? Is it on that? The reason why we always avoid it is because it's a huge headache and nightmare. It just is. You're dealing with APIs and SDKs and Facebook and Meta
And no
and
tech
TikTok
support from them.
and no tech support. And they keep changing their APIs, which then screws up. And the reason why is I mentioned one of my first startups a long time ago where I met that high school kid. That was 2010. And 2010 through 13, those years, I remember we used Facebook API to like just to log in and use something in Facebook. And one day they changed their API and our platform was down for like 2 months because we had to rebuild everything because they changed it.
And they didn't even inform you.
No. So after that, I vowed to never do that again. And that's why I'm still to this day avoiding connecting to the socials.
Yeah.
I'm avoiding it. I don't want to do it. It's a headache. And I understand
And not
people
only
say,
that,
oh, but
though, they can shut it off on you. They can just say,
yes,
you're
yes.
violating your terms of service. And
Yep.
they'll put you out of business. Boom. Just like
Yep.
that. I mean,
They,
Google
without even
ads,
telling you why.
they just turn off your business. I've had it happen to me. I've had websites that have disappeared from, they were on Google page 1 for certain search terms. And the next day somehow I violated a term of service, and they won't tell you what it is. Can't talk.
They won't tell you what you did.
Right.
Yeah.
And you disappear from the internet.
Yep.
Not a good thing. Yeah. So
That's
that's
happened
smart.
many times. That's happened many times to us too. Like what you
Wow.
just said, all
Yeah.
that stuff. And I'm like, I don't want to do it. So although people say, well, when can I do this, that, and the third with DMs? And I'm like, look, at the end of the day, you don't want people going to social networks to talk to you. You want them coming to your website.
Right. Where your offers
And
are.
that is what, and that exactly. And that's what led us to realize the market is heading in the direction of proprietary AI agents and proprietary AI search on company websites, not social networks. Because when you're on socials, you're giving them all your data, all your information, all your customers' information. You want that data. What does Apple and Meta and Google not give you? They don't give you name, email, phone numbers. They don't give them to you. But our platform does. We give you name, email, phone number, conversation summary, what they want. We don't hold the data hostage. It's your data. We don't even keep it. It's yours.
Yeah.
So
if they've already knocked on your door, you've let them in the house. They're just wandering
Yes.
around like no one's home, essentially.
but with
somebody-
the agent, they're greeted
Sounds like a fantastic product. It sounds awesome.
for sure. And so now we're leading in the direction of universities. They are the largest untapped market in AI, hands down, besides government agencies.
How ironic is that?
Yeah.
Besides
It is.
government agencies, right? Like, really?
Well, because we're trying both. We had, so the reason why I think I prefer universities more is we did get a government contract like a year ago, and it's still not completed because they are so slow. Universities are slow, but they're a little faster.
Okay.
So what we're seeing is the turnaround might be 6 months per college, whereas a government agency might be 2 years.
Wow. Wow.
So now we're tapping into universities, and we're definitely going to get some leeway on that.
How big's your team?
We were around 20 people, and now that we're like super lean and most of everything is built and marketed and done, we're maybe about 10 people now.
Okay. And do you outsource outside of the country?
Yeah, we've done that I've been doing that for almost 30 years.
Outsourcing. And so do you have a preferred country that you like to hire from? I'm asking you pure entrepreneurship questions just from my own point of view as an entrepreneur myself.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I've purposely tried working with mostly developers in a lot of different countries purely to find out what the experience would be like, what their skill levels would be like. So I did try the main ones, of course, India, Pakistan, Ukraine. I found that those three had a very different way of working.
Very much so.
Then I tried South America, which I really liked, but their prices go up a lot from there, unless you can find some that are less costly, but same time zone. They speak Spanish and English. The barrier to communication is a lot less challenging, but it's hard to get them because they all work at these companies and agencies where they're earning so much money. So it's hard to get them out of there, you know?
Gotcha.
And working with the agencies, you're going to pay an arm and a leg. Whereas in India, Pakistan, and Ukraine, you can find single developers who are willing to just work with you because they work at agencies, but they don't get paid much. So they want to work with you and make all the money.
Right.
And sometimes you can find really talented developers. Then I tried Canada, and I found a lot of good developers in Canada as well because they're trying to leave their country and come to the US, but they can't. So they come next best thing, Canada. And they find that they can work in Canada and they're in the same time zone once again. They speak English once again. So things move a lot in the right direction. American developers, on the other hand, which I have worked with in the past, is the hardest one to get because they're the most expensive. They're the most in demand. They're running their own startups. They work at the big companies. Why do they want to work with you?
And they don't communicate very effectively. Like me and you can have a normal conversation. Your average developer, in my experience, is not really capable of a friendly, easy, business-oriented conversation. They're in like their own world, and they're in
the coding world.
Yeah, exactly. They're
in the coding world.
Introverted and
antisocial. I mean, I've worked with a lot of developers who did not see eye to eye with me. They didn't see. To be a CEO of a startup, you have to be confident and outspoken and extroverted, and you have to be able to speak about a lot of things and be able to look people in the eye. Developers are with their heads down, they're in the code, they're zoned out with the headphones on, listening to music, and they don't have to do that stuff. So they don't get along with business people. But here's the thing. Well, since I started out as a programmer, and I was able to build my own platforms over years and work with a lot of developers and know how to build things on my own, I was able to bridge the gap between developers, business, marketing, finance, branding, and do all of it kind of together where I am able to manage teams because I can speak the language. I can build things alongside them. I don't just expect them to build everything themselves. I actually work on code on a daily basis, even today. I always have my hands in the code. And so therefore there's a level of respect you gain in that way. The other thing, and this is so true now more than ever, it might have been true 5-10 years ago, but nowhere near as much as it is today. Developers are not as, and the way I say this doesn't mean I'm not making any offense here, but today developers are not as valuable as they used to be. At least in my opinion. They used to be super valuable. If you could find a good developer, oh man, you got lucky. He's great. Why is it not as valuable today? Well, because everybody's building platforms and investors aren't investing in them. Because building a platform doesn't matter anymore. It just doesn't. Marketing it does.
Everything.
Selling it does. You need to be able to get, and I'm not kidding when I tell you this, 'cause I have pitches with investors on a daily basis, and they want to see $1 million in revenue, or if it's a social app, 1 million users right off the bat. If you don't have 1 million in revenue for your B2B startup or 1 million users for your consumer app, you're not getting funding unless you went to Stanford and worked at Google.
Right.
I'm serious. If you worked at Google and you went to Stanford, you will get funding for your startup. It's a guarantee.
So,
Guarantee.
in your opinion, the absolute number one skill for a CEO is marketing?
Yeah. There's no
Of all the roles,
no doubt.
all the roles, marketing is
Sales and marketing. You need to know how to sell your product. You need to know how to get revenue for your product, and you need to know how to reach your customer target market easily, effectively, and quickly. You can build the best app in the world. If nobody uses it, who cares?
nobody
That's
knows
like,
about it. No one cares.
Yeah.
So people have to know about it. And that's marketing and sales. And it's got to work. It's got to be something interesting and unique and easy to use.
And I would almost argue it doesn't have to be that interesting or unique anymore. It just doesn't. It could be the most boring app in the world, but if you get customers,
right,
it doesn't matter what the app does, because it goes the other way around. For the way we feel about Spinner, the video community app, it still is by far the best social app in existence, and I'm not just saying that. It is. We took the best pieces of all the social networks in the world. We cut out all the negative stuff people hated, trolls, influencers, ads, all that crap, and we made it this amazing AOL kind of MySpace, bringing back all the good stuff that the people loved into this beautiful private app that we have 50,000 users who love the app and use it every day. And it's not millions of users, but our users love it. But since investors don't see the potential and they don't see what it can do, they're not going to give us the funding. So we can't get it out there as more than we already have. So now we're doing B2B SaaS with Vengo, and that's really starting to get some legs.
So what do you do? So from an entrepreneurial point of view, you have these two different apps that you're obviously very proud of and feel that they work very well, and they're both interesting. Vengo seems to have some traction for you. What do you do with Spinner? You just put it on the shelf for now?
When people ask that, I like to just say that you don't have to do anything.
It's running itself. It's not losing money. It's organic.
It's an organically live, growing entity. It's a child that I birthed and is in the world growing. Every month we get a couple hundred new users on there.
And it doesn't cost you anything to maintain?
Just server costs, but not much, negligible. Okay. Less than your insurance or whatever. And it's worth keeping it alive just for that. And it's never crashed in 3 years, not once. So we built an amazing product, and what we're seeing, and it's funny now, it's kind of coming back full circle with this new university angle with Vengo. We're seeing that the colleges, it's nuts to me, by the way. Name a company in the Fortune 500, name a university, not one of them has a community app to let their fans, followers, and people communicate with each other about the ecosystem of like Starbucks or Nike or, Carnival Cruises. Meet people before you go on a cruise. Like, there's so many things you could do with that. And so we're being talked to about from agencies saying, why don't we white label our platform so that they can have their own version of Spinner, which would be amazing. And we're 100% down for that. But in order for us to do it, we need those customers to say, yeah, here's the money, we'll do it.
Right.
So we'll be working on figuring out a way to sell that too.
Interesting. So interesting. You got a lot going on, man.
I know, man.
Tell me about, I want everybody here to subscribe to your podcast. So tell us about your podcast.
The name has always been the same name as my book, Strap on Your Boots.
Okay.
So I wrote this book, Strap on Your Boots, in 2015, 2016. I released it. It was successful in terms of like a lot of people enjoyed reading it, and it helped them with their startups. After a couple of years of teaching a course I built around the book called Startup Essentials that I taught at the universities as a workshop, as like a guest lecturer, I started getting a lot of feedback about like, this course really helped me. The book really helped me. I need more. How can I get more? Can you do some updates? Can you do, I was doing blog posts and YouTube videos. I was doing and one person said to me, you should start a podcast. This was 2018. You should start a podcast so you can keep going. And I said, okay. 2018, I started a podcast before podcasting was cool. And
even though they had been around a while. Yeah, honestly,
they've been around for.
I know, but then it seemed like they were kind of on the way out, possibly. But it had a huge,
it did seem like
comeback.
It's funny you said that, because when I went in 2018, I felt, and we actually had a podcast in like 2014 for one of my first startups. So I was actually podcasting before that, but I didn't see podcasting as a long-term thing. I saw it as a way to promote what you were doing for like a year and just putting it out there and see if it sticks. But with this, it was different. This was like, okay, now I can actually just put out an episode whenever I want about a topic. And I wasn't doing it on a regular basis. When the pandemic hit in 2020, I was like, well, now I'm stuck here. And now I'm running these startups. I better like put the pedal on the metal. So I worked really hard to get to 100 episodes. And when I got to 100 episodes, I started being approached by so many different people, like, we want to be on your show, et cetera. And through all the time and effort I put into it, it finally got to like the top 5 percentile of entrepreneurship podcasts. So I worked really hard to get it there. So why I started other segments, Zero to CEO being one of them, Future Tech being another one. Obviously, I love the future. I love technology. I've been on TV shows about it. I've written and published magazines about it. I've written books about it. So people know that I'm a futurist. I love technology. I run an AI business. So future tech was like a really good kind of way for me to put that out there in terms of like what I love about it. There's an astronaut from NASA that I just interviewed. He'll be featured in my next Monday's episode. You'll see that on Monday the 11th. And Zero to CEO is more entrepreneurs, CEOs, how they got from zero to CEO. How did they get from here to there in short form, 15-minute episodes to help entrepreneurs learn from their successes and their failures. And I ask the hard questions because I know what it's like to do all these things, right? So, and I'm able to talk about a large, like you said, I do so many different things that I'm able to talk about a large variety of topics, which makes it really easy for me to really navigate those episodes.
Right. So what are the hard questions? As a new podcaster myself, what are the hard questions?
Like a lot of people like to talk about like, what they did to, or what their company did and how successful it was. But I like to say like, yeah, but before you had this company, you were just an entrepreneur with an idea. You must have made a ton of mistakes along the way. What were your top 3 mistakes that you made along the way that really screwed things up and made you almost want to quit?
Exactly.
Like, that's what I want to know.
I ask traders, what was your biggest losing trade? So I actually did, in 2013, I interviewed 18 different traders, and instead of making it into a podcast, I had them all transcribed the old fashioned way and had it edited and made into 2 different books. One's called What It Takes, The Secrets to Becoming. So you can see them on Amazon. If you Google Eddie Z or Russ Hazelcorn, you'll see the books.
Cool.
Yeah, they're cool. But there was a few of them I had to cut out because I'd ask them that hard question. And there was a couple of them I said, oh, I lost a couple $1,000. And then I knew you're not real. You're not who you say you are. But those hard questions I know are important.
Yeah, of course.
Have you ever had some really awkward answers to those, or what mostly?
I do get answers from people where they beat around, like they try to avoid the answer. A lot of times I try to, because I think people want to portray this level of success which makes me question, like, why are you being interviewed? If you're so successful, then why are you even wasting your time? I have this weird notion in my mind, Eddie. I really do. This weird notion in my mind that if I ever got to the level of success that is, the peak, like the Elon Musk peak, why would I be on podcasts promoting my stuff?
Right.
I would probably have my managers and the people that are, running the day-to-day operations do like I wouldn't be doing it anymore, which leads me to think, are you really that successful, or are you trying to get more exposure? And I don't know the answer.
And so what would you do if you were having your people do it? Then what would you do if you weren't doing it? There's something about the podcast you must really like, because first of all, you're a natural. very easy to talk to. There's something more to it, though.
Like personally, what I think there's something about legacy involved. Like, what am I leaving behind in the world?
Hmm.
And a lot of people might not have anything.
Right.
They might just be like, they get forgotten. And I'm never going to have the level of, fame or success as like an Elon Musk or a Michael Jackson or Steve Jobs. Like, I just doubt that's going to happen. And I'm glad to have a life like that, because I don't want to be sought after the way they were, and constantly in the press and being scrutinized and
Not only
being
that, they
bombarded.
paparazzi. I mean, you think Joe
Can't go in
Rogan
public.
can go out of his house?
Yeah,
Or
I don't want to do
Elon.
that.
Elon probably has an army.
Yeah. I like being under the radar to the point where, I'm able to enjoy the things that I like to do and not have to be able to be worried about going to the grocery store.
Right.
So, but at the same time, like, what am I leaving behind? And if, one day the historical record comes back and says, well, this guy had like hundreds of podcasts, you can learn all about him, and he's the one that made this movie or made this app, and it changed the game over here. And maybe it's a small, textbook historical kind of footnote, but at least I'm leaving something behind, and maybe helping people along the way, because everyone's struggling to build a business, and I've been through it all. And if anything I say or do, or the people I interview, can help them in any small way, then that's a job well done, in my opinion.
Awesome. I love that vision. I love that outlook. I think that is the absolute best motivation there is, a purest motivation. And you just mentioned something. You're also a filmmaker.
Yeah.
So tell me how you got into that.
Ooh, that's a long story. It's a whole different episode. I mean, I got some of my awards up there. My movie posters are on a different wall. This is actually a screenplay right here called Protocol 7. I wrote that during the pandemic, and it placed as a quarterfinalist in 3 contests. I'm really proud of that, Protocol 7. You can see all my movies on delphiafilms.com. They're widely distributed. My grandfather was a movie manager for 50 years, and as a kid, I would watch movies in the projection booth. So I have that memory. And then the reason I actually went into filmmaking is the weirdest thing in the world. I always had these weird stories, but my dad was retiring, and I made him, and he was also turning 60, and I made his life story into like a 15-minute movie. I had no idea how to make movies or edit. I got some cheap software called Pinnacle Studio Pro back then. It was like 2005 or 6 or 7.
Sounds familiar.
It is. It's cheap old software. It's like iMovie. And I basically got all the pictures and videos from my mom from his house that I could put together into this movie. And I played the movie in front of all of his friends and family at his retirement party. It was like 50 people. And they were in tears, laughing. They were blown away. They couldn't believe what they saw. And they all came up to me afterward and said, that was one of the best retirement movies I've ever seen in my whole life versus just a slideshow. Like, you made a movie. It was like narrated and everything. It was amazing music. It was just, and this one guy came up to me and said, you ever thought about making movies? I'm like, you're a good storyteller. And I'm like, well, I am, but I never thought of making movies. Why not? I don't know. And that triggered something. And when someone kind of provokes me or like instigates me or like nudges me, it makes me wonder. And then I went full-fledged into filmmaking mode, and I started learning the equivalent of a master's program in film by watching all the old movies, reading all about filmmaking and how it was invented, the Charlie Chaplins and Buster Keatons of the world. And then taking the risk meaning buying expensive equipment, cameras, and learning how to use it, working with other production companies around me and seeing what they do. And then I was like, well, I don't want to do it that way. I want to do it my way. And then learning how to do it on my own terms. And then in 2010, after a year of writing on a screenplay, my first one, Bucks County Massacre, I put together a cast and crew of about 50 people. It was insane. Was able to get M. Night Shyamalan's location manager to lead me in the direction of a location that would let us use the land and the house for free.
Wow.
And I was able to do that. And we shot this movie, put it into a film festival. It won Audience Choice Award, led me to get an agent. Yeah, thanks, man. And then that movie, Bucks County Massacre, got picked up by an agent and distributor in Los Angeles. And it just started getting exposed, and it worked really well. And then I was like, well, and then I started doing like the tech circuit videography.
Okay.
tech events, hackathons, investor pitches, like meetups. Like I was doing that kind of thing. And that was going really well for a while, but it really wasn't my passion. And then in 2015, a story landed on my lap, literally on a newspaper, and I was flipping through and look at it. I'm like, well, this is amazing. Now I had the internet kind of really at my disposal to start digging more. And that led into my second movie, The King's Highway, which is a huge award-winning film about the history of Philadelphia that no one's ever told before. That won a film festival. The governor of Pennsylvania named the day after it. I got it on my wall, and it got picked up by WHYY, PBS, Verizon, Comcast, 50 million homes, still widely watched. And that was kind of the thing that really kind of launched my film career more. And then during the pandemic, I did my third film, Cutting Corners, which was kind of a sequel to that, an activist, exploitative documentary about cutting corners in buildings and real estate, which was terrible. And now, a couple of years later, I'm working on a NASA documentary called Before the Moon. And I'm literally right in the middle of it. So I'm interviewing NASA astronauts, NASA engineers, traveling to NASA to interview people. And it's a really cool story. And it's never been told before. In my neighborhood, is the largest, most powerful centrifuge that trained all the NASA Apollo astronauts, and no one even knows it's there.
That is amazing. You are probably one of the most motivated people I've personally ever met. Very impressive. How can people learn more about you? First, tell me the AI company is called Vengo.
VengoAI.com. They can try the AI right there.
VengoAI.
VengoAI.com or Vengo.ai. Either one goes to the same site.
Okay.
Vanessa will greet you. You can talk to Vanessa. She'll start talking to you. And you'll see how it works. There's videos.
Is that a rule? If you have an AI, you have to have a female name on it.
It's just more approachable, I think.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, more approachable. We get a lot of male customers.
Okay.
So they want to talk to a female. We get female customers as well, but mostly male. Why that is, I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe that's another topic.
And then you said jasonsherman.org.
.org.
That's kind of fine. You and your brand.
My main website. Yep,
right.
That'll
and
tell
your
you
podcast. How can we find your podcast?
Yeah, that's on every single podcasting app. It's called Strap on Your Boots. Just type it in. Apple Podcasts, you'll find it. And Monday are the episodes. That's when they get released. My team puts them out on Mondays. Next Monday will be that NASA astronaut I talked about. So that'll be next Monday.
Exciting.
And beforethemoonfilm.com. If you want to learn about the movie, I'm actually right in the middle of producing right now, which is crazy. Usually that doesn't happen. Usually you see it after it comes out, but I'm in the middle of production. So you can go to like my socials for Before the Moon and you'll see like behind the scenes, I'm working on this movie.
Where do you find the time to do all this at the same time? I guess it goes back to what we started. It's about how to delegate and not do everything
and breaking
yourself.
it up. Yep. Yeah. Delegation is key, but breaking it up, I over years and years and years, I learned to break things up into chunks. So like, 2 hours Vengo, 2 hours, Before the Moon.
How do you turn it off? I mean, Elon Musk is like the king of that. He runs X, Multiple. He runs SpaceX. How Tesla? How does how you have to chunk it out, I guess. And
you got to chunk it out.
When time's up. You got to move on to the other one.
And you need smart people. And also, I think there's this misconception that you have to work 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. I don't agree with that. I might have done it at one point when I was like really starting out and I had to do that. But now it's more like I'll work, I'll take a nice break, I'll work some more, take a nice break, and I'll just work and take breaks and like, yoga, walks, exercise, take those breaks. And then when I'm done for the day and I put my phone on focus mode where everything just shuts off, that's 4 p.m. I have a hard stop at 4 p.m. So if it's not important, it's not going to get through to me. But the difference is that allows me to choose at like 6:30, let me check my phone and see what's on there that I might have missed. And that's when I can go on and check if I want to.
Right.
7:30, 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock, I can check if I want to. But if I don't, nothing gets through to me. So that means that I might still be working on something. And if I'm not working, I'm still researching, reading, learning.
Your mind is always on it. That's your thing.
Yep.
You have lots of different things. And if folks wanted to see your movies, where can they find them?
Yeah, They can go, so if they go to my website, there's links there, but they can also go to delphiafilms.com, DELPH. So it's like Philadelphia, but without the Phila, just delphiafilms.com. And all the links for all my movies are on there. They can read my screenplay if they want. Protocol 7. I'm really proud of that because it actually is like a sci-fi AI, screenplay. It just so happens to be about that. So it's kind of cool. But the movies are all available on like Amazon, Tubi, Plex, all the places you can watch movies and YouTube and stuff like that. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate the time we've spent together. It's been really,
man.
You are a fascinating guy. I hope we get to do this again. And thanks for coming on.